All right, fellas and ladies and gentlemen, if you will. This is the first week of the November Tuesday Swiss. If you all recall, I finished on 2.5 points in October. Technically, it's not really second place. There were four people that finished on 3.0, so I technically got fifth place. But I was half a point out of moneying, if you will. I've had now my first ever tournament was the July Swiss, and I won that one. And then I kind of got hammered in August. And then both September and October, I've finished close to the top, but just out of the money. Again, before I can bump up to the Open, I kind of need to win this tournament. So I'm going to be in the mid-tier bracket for the foreseeable future. My opponent, the nice thing about the first week is you have no idea who you're going to play. You kind of just show up, you get paired off, and you know what? It is what it is. The attendance was booming tonight. It was packed. A lot of people in the house, which is great. Saw some of my old favorites, and a few people who didn't quite make it there. Too bad. Peter Kane, who I believe won the lower section, kind of friendly with him. He was a no-show. As was Joseph, who's been a mainstay in my section. He wasn't there either. Maybe he'll play later in the week, or later in the month. I don't know. Anyway, Nathan Jones. This was, believe it or not, he's unrated provisional games. This was his first ever over-the-board game, or over the tournament, I think. His USCF doesn't have any games on it. I think he told me that this was kind of his first, or one of his first tournaments. Maybe he played one other one, I don't know. But he's a very strong bullet player online. Afterward, he told me that he's like 1900 or 1950, something like that, bullet, which is better than what I am. I'm 1650 or so. I'm a decent bullet player for sure. It's not my best. I think I'm better blitz than bullet. But anyway, that's my cat in the background. He's going psycho mode, given I just got back recently. Anyway, I got randomly assigned black in all my games. I'm now over the 40 game mark. I've been black like 2 more times than white, so slight inequity, if you will. Inequity. The inequities will not stand. Anyway, it is what it is. In the 4 games, most likely I'll get 2 white, 2 black. So in this tournament, things should even out. So I'm not going to spill my milk, that's for sure. In any event, he plays d4. He told me afterward that he mostly plays e5 gambits online, so I don't know why he switched up and played like d4. And he said that as soon as I went d6, he was already out of the book, which is kind of funny. As some of you know, I'm angling for just a very typical English rat system. I've decided I'm changing my opening against e5. For the record, I might go back to French. I might be playing something else altogether. But against d4, I really have liked my results in English Rat. I really like the way it plays out, so I'm going to stick with that for now. However, when people go d4 and I go d6, normally they play c4, which invites the English Rat. He went e4, so we're kind of transposing to the Maroxy defense, which I've found, even though I've played a million of those games, which is when they go like e4 and I go d6 and then they go d4 and then I play e5. We arrive in the same move order. This again is the perk defense, the Maroxy defense. It's a very odd sideline, and I've decided I don't think I like this anymore. It's not bad. It's just, even if people don't know theory and people don't know this, I feel at this level, sort of the mid-tier stakes, people end up playing the best moves because they're not that hard to find, and it's when I play the best moves because I know them because I played this so much, I still don't really get anything out of it. So it's kind of a bummer if you play a line that you know well, and even your opponent doesn't know well, and they still kind of get out of the opening just fine. It's probably just not a good opening, to be honest. So I think I am going to go away from the Maroxy defense. Anyway, I played into it, and he does not take, which is very, very typical, one of the better moves. But instead, he goes into, he kind of transposes again into the filter. By the way, a few other little notes about my opponent. Obviously didn't know that he was a good bullet player beforehand, but he ends up spending a lot of time in the opening. I got a time advantage. And also, for whatever reason, my finger, I sat down, just started to bleed. I got a paper cut or something. And at first, I was wearing a sweater today. I literally tried to stop my blood with my sweater, so I was wrapping my finger for 5 minutes. And then I just had to go up and find Steven. I said, "Hey Ben, can I get a Band-Aid?" So I was the whole opening, I blitzed my moves, and he was thinking, and I was just bleeding all over my sweater. So little tidbit, little mental image for all of you at home. My finger's fine, for the record. It literally wouldn't clot. So who knows? Anyway, once I go e4, e5. Normally, I'm used to people just taking. He went knight f3 instead, which is the best move. I mean, we're transposing once again to the Philidor defense. And the truth is, I know the Philidor very, very well. Very well. I think a lot of people consider it kind of boring. But once we got into the Philidor, it's like, okay, this is technically my wheelhouse. Wheel me away, buddy. Anyway, I decide to take. E takes, which is the exchange variation. I don't have to do this. He then plays... I like when they play queen takes. It's not as good a move. But he goes knight takes, which is the best move. My opponent played very well tonight, by the way. Nathan Jones. Yeah, he takes back with the knight. And then I play knight f6. And that's the best move as well. And I do know this stuff. I've played this online quite a lot. The idea in the Philidor is pretty simple. You basically develop your bishop to e7. Sometimes you have to invert the move order if there's any, random threats. Not in this position, but sometimes you invert the move order. You don't really want to play knight c6 and let them just trade here. It's not bad. Again, I play that position too, but having the 3 pawns is not, advantageous for black. And my strong piece is going to be my light square bishop. Ideally, with my dark square bishop, we don't necessarily fianchetto, but if I can find a way to swap it to f6 and I kind of play on the long diagonal, then boom, that's my game plan for this one. Alright, in any event, he plays bishop to d3. It's a very typical developing move. I think it's fine. He has to defend the pawn. I'm obviously attacking the pawn. And now, apparently, according to the computer and whatnot, we're out of book. Which is a little bit surprising because I still know these moves. Although, apparently, going g6 and just fianchettoing right away is better. But I don't do that. I play bishop e7, which is the way... still, computer gives it an excellent grade, which is the way I'm used to playing this. Nathan didn't take too long. He castled. I shrugged, and I immediately castled. A lot of moves. I know that the first 25 moves of this game, I played in a minute or less, because I had more than an hour when we reached the pure middle game. And I think part of it was I didn't need to think for most of these moves. Yeah. I got the cadence of the time for this game. He spent a lot of time in the opening. I got a decent time advantage. And then the mid game, when I started slowing down, he started speeding up. And then the end game, he used a lot of his clock, and I didn't. So that's kind of what you all need to know as far as the time. Neither player really was under time pressure. I would argue the very end he was a little bit, but it really didn't come into play. So this is not one of the games where that matters much. He launches c4. It is the best move again. And these 2 pawns, when they're set up here, is known as a Maroczy bind, I believe. I don't know the theory that well, but I've played against this plenty of times. And I wasn't sure the right move here. I remembered in a lot of Philidor setups, c5 is a move, and it looks bad. It's anti-positional because you're creating a hanging pawn, a backward pawn on d6. It's going to be a target for your opponent. But my thinking was, if I can play c5, I win tempo on his knight. He's got to drop it back, kind of preventing his development. I'll get a quick knight c6 then, and then I can basically bring my rook to the middle of the board, kind of keep stacked up against the e4 pawn. And if I can basically prevent him from ever utilizing that outpost, I could argue that I'm better. The computer doesn't really love that plan, so it looks like I made a mistake. In this position, apparently, with the pawn on c4, c5 is not a move. I didn't know that. They just want me to play c6 and just play the position with a triple pawn here. Again, I've seen that. I know it's never good for black, so I didn't want to go into that. So I didn't. But the computer argues that this is my first kind of mistake of the game. So I'll take it. I knew it was an anti-positional move. I knew it looked weird. I just thought I remembered that in a lot of positions this is the right move, but apparently not in this one. He plays knight e to d2. That's not possible. Knight D. Oh yeah, knight d to e2. No, that is okay. It's arguably the best move. Just with the retreating, and I actually thought that was very bizarre. The computer likes it. I just assumed he was going to play it to f3. Do they like it? They don't like knight f3 nearly as much. And oddly enough, they like knight to c2 better. Hell if I knew why. I feel like I'd be clamping down on his knight, so I don't get it. Whatever. And the story of this game is I constantly felt like I was close to being in good shape, but I kept feeling very shaky. And so this is one of those spots where he plays back and I win some tempo, and I'm feeling okay, this, how bad can this position be? But not really, feeling great about everything. I play knight c6. It's a natural developing move. I'm trying to basically argue that I can stick a piece on d4 and be better. My idea somehow is to relocate my bishop to f6. utilize that long diagonal, and go from there. I'm also preventing him from playing e5 himself. If I can ever clear the space and kind of slam more attackers on e4, then again, that's kind of my pathway forward. Yeah, all right. That's kind of what's going through my mind. Again, I'm playing this kind of fast. I felt like these were solid moves. He plays knight on b to c3. It's the best move again. And this is the first time I think I do a mini tank, and I wondered how bad it would be if he stuck his knight on d5. And I assumed if he did, if I can play the move knight, rook e8, which is the best move, I do play the best move, I can maintain my bishop and then basically go back to the plan with sticking it on g7, again, utilizing the long diagonal. And his knight on d5 arguably is not that great, because if he ever just trades, I would take back my queen. And at the right moment, I can just trade, and yes, okay, he gets a big center, but I would argue with the bishop pair or so, kind of like the open long diagonals, that maybe black is fine. So that's kind of what was going through my head. Basically, how dangerous is it if he lands a knight to d5? And I decided it wasn't like good for me, but it wasn't that bad either. So I kind of had to just live with it. Anyway, so I played the best move. I played rook e8. I am, again, trying to load up everything I can on the e4 pawn. If I ever can win this, then I am better. And I figured I could maybe beat him to the file here. That's where I'm trying to play for my advantage, if you will. He plays bishop f4, which actually really surprised me. It seems like this is still an excellent move, a very good move. For some reason, I was more afraid of him playing to g5, and I asked him about that, and I forget what he said. Yeah, I forget what he said, but I guess he didn't like it as much. I thought that then I'd actually have to play h6. I'd give him a hook. My position would feel a little bit shaky. He could even move back. I thought also his bishop kind of belonged on e3 as well, but maybe I'm just dead wrong. Whatever. It doesn't really matter too much. Anyway, I stick to my plan. Computer doesn't love the plan, but I played bishop f8. My idea, they give it an excellent, fair enough. My idea is I've got 1-2 attackers, he's got 1-2 defenders. If I can sneak another attacker in there, for example, I was thinking about going out wide with my knight, kind of trade off the bishop or so forth, then I would just continue to put the pressure on the e4 square. If he has to play f3, it's a weakening move, and then the d4 square becomes even more powerful once, again, I can reroute my bishop. And that's kind of like that's what I'm playing for. That's positional idea, what I'm going for, at least anyway. All right. He now plays rook e1. It makes a lot of sense. He's indirectly defending the e4 pawn. Maybe he's got ideas at some point of playing e5, although that would actually help me, because I'd get rid of the weakness of my position. So this is the first move he makes that's like not optimal, I guess. I played knight b4. I thought for a while here, actually. I did consider bishop g4. They like even knight d7, like an interesting reroute. I was considering that as well, basically stick a knight on e5. Because his bishop was on f4, he doesn't have the threat of f4 himself, which is why I didn't like putting the knight on e5 initially. So those are all pretty reasonable, but I guess I do something that's not as accurate, not as good. My thinking with knight b4 is, again, I'm pressuring this bishop. If I can get the double bishop, then again, I can argue there's something in the position that's positive for me. If he backs all the way up, then he's going to prevent his rook from getting into the game. If he ignores it at the right time, I'm kind of inducing a3. Maybe I also thought that maybe my other bishop belonged on c6, and I can use the light square diagonal. So those are kind of, again, getting another attacker on the e4 pawn. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking. That's why I played it. It looks like a different rerouting knight move was a little more accurate, but it's hard to kind of see all that. He plays rook b1, which I was actually very surprised about this move. The computer doesn't love it. And I guess he was thinking long-term of like the a3, b4 ideas, but it's a little bit slow. Computer likes him just bumping right away and forcing me to trade. Like if he went a3, I would have traded his bishop, he would have taken, and we would have just played that position. I would have tried to keep, attacking this this pawn. I knew there was a move order thing, because I did take a good amount of time on this move, where I could move the bishop right away, because like if he dropped back or something, he'd have two attackers on the d6 pawn. I remember I had to be careful of my move order here, so I did spend some time on that. All right, Nonetheless, he plays, or excuse me, I play bishop d7 because here he doesn't have the attackers on it. So I thought that this was accurate with the idea again of rerouting, trying to get more pressure on e4, trying to do that. I also was thinking long term. I thought I had a funny idea of maybe a6, b5 myself, or just b5, where if I can get him to trade the c4 pawn over, I would then be able to play d5, kind of absolve the weakness by removing the c4 pawn, which is clamping down on d5. So I was considering some of these like sort of pawn sacrifices. So that was another reason for wanting to get my bishop on that diagonal. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. He now goes for the plan of a3. I consider very briefly of moving back to c6, which looks like it's almost as good. I don't think it's nearly as good, so I trade. Peter says that's the best move. Him taking back the queen is obviously forced. Duh. So he does that. And we reach this position. We're not quite in the middle game. We're definitely on the opening. Pretty much all my minor pieces have moved. I haven't moved my a8 rook. My pawns are not ideal. I regretted this c5 idea because now I'm just defending a stupid-ass d6 pawn the whole game. Yeah, I thought that what my opponent and I were saying after the game is in the mid-game here, I never felt I was like that much worse, but how the hell could I ever be better here? You know what I mean? Like, what am I really playing for? I didn't know. I thought that I had to continue with the plan of bishop to c6. Peter does not love that idea. They really like going out wide here. With the idea, it looks like, of rerouting back and just sticking it on e5. Maybe getting like a trade or something. Because I'd be like attacking the queen. I don't know. I just don't think there's much to it. Probably would take back with a pawn. Yeah, maybe that would have been slightly better. Then I would have played like b6 with the idea of bishop c6 and kind of play with that pawn wall. Like so. Whoops, okay. Arrow's just hard. I'm going to not even bother redrawing that. Yeah, I can see how that would be a slightly better plan for the record. I don't do that, though. I just play bishop c6. Again, in my fantasy land... Okay, computer still likes it. I'm attacking this pawn. I mean, for the record, I actually am attacking the pawn now. I thought he'd have to go wide, like knight to g3. I thought that was more accurate. Oh, the computer does like that. I did think that was more accurate than f3. Okay, cool. So when I was at the board thinking of moves for him, I did find a better move for him. But he didn't do that. He does play f3. And I thought now when f3 was reached, I thought that there was something in this position for me. Maybe I'm, out of my mind, but I spy a faraway plan. The computer likes my idea, by the way, so I'm not out of my mind. The best move is going to d7 and then rerouting to d5. What? No, to e5. Yeah, they still always like this idea of sticking a knight on e5 with the idea of hoping to basically trade and absolve the weakness that way, kind of get rid of the d6 weakness. That's the one weakness that black has. And I think that makes sense. Although, if you do it immediately... I guess you can't take the pawn. Because if you play knight to d7 and he goes bishop takes, you can then play knight to e5, because then you're hitting the bishop twice, and his queen is actually pinned here. Because there's nothing supporting it, so if he moves the bishop back, he would just lose the queen. Interesting. And again, with the knight rerouted, his queen's under attack, so he has to move it. Okay, so that's why he's not actually attacking the pawn, where I would be able to play knight to d7 to e5. I see that now. But I spy a different idea, and I'm actually happy with my idea, to be honest. I thought that in a fantasy land, I can stick something on d4. I thought the only way to do that is to get my knight to e6. I didn't know how the hell I'm moving it over one square, so I kind of ignored that for now. But I did think, okay, if this d6 is a weakness, how can I add another defender? And I thought it'd be kind of clever if I had a knight on e8, which means I have to move my rook. I thought, given I took away his light square bishop, my light squares are not weak, I could rook lift. I could play rook to e6. Again, it overprotects the d6 pawn. with the idea of bringing my knight behind to support the d6 pawn, and rook lift, where, again, the g6, he has no light square bishop, I actually am starting to generate some threats myself. So I looked into this idea. I played, I considered a few other moves. I considered rerouting the knight. I didn't quite see the idea of d7 to e5. That tactic is not that hard, so I probably should have seen it as far as why I'm able to play that this pawn would not be hanging. And I actually did consider a6. The reason why a6 is a good candidate move is he wants to jump his knight in and try to start infiltrating my position. And if he jumps, I actually would pretty much have to just give up the light square bishop. But I just didn't think that was that bad for me. Yeah, he'd get the pawns pretty fast, but yeah, that's why I didn't go a6. I thought it was a good. It was the kind of move. I thought a6 was a kind of a move that improves black's position, but I didn't think it was worth spending a whole move on doing it. If that makes sense, I thought I needed to do something else. So yeah, so I play rook e6. Computer does not hate this move, although they give it an inaccuracy. Well, all right. When I say they don't hate it, it's on the candidate moves. It's in the top 5. Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh to give it an accuracy. I still think it's interesting, and I'm trying to generate something. I'm trying to argue something. My other idea as well is I'm no longer giving up the plan of attacking the e4 pawn, so I need to play for something else. I don't know. I also had a wild idea, for the record. I don't end up playing this, so I'm just going to tell you this idea that I had here, which is when I bring my knight back, thrusting to g5, because it would be supported by my queen, pushing his bishop back, with the idea of basically pawn storming, and then slamming my pieces, both my rook and my queen, ahead of my rook, to attack him. So I was looking at those attacking ideas, but they're not that good. It's just that is how I thought I needed to kind of go after him. Anyway, my man, Nathan, launches b4 in this position. It's a good move. And when he played it, it took him a while to play this. Maybe this is the first time I spent a little bit more time. Maybe. I thought, damn, that's a pretty good move. And I thought it's a pretty good move because I thought taking was bad. Not so much because he would just be able to retake, but he would. I didn't like giving up the clamps on the d4 square. I thought that if I traded my pawn, he would then slam his knight into d4. And first off, it makes my rook e6 move really stupid. But he would also basically wipe away the one advantage I have, which is the bishop pair. So I didn't really look at taking very seriously because I just thought that it would be too important for me to have this pawn on c5. So then I thought, what if I ignored it, just played something random? And then I looked at him playing b5, and I would have to basically either retreat my bishop to e8, where it's terrible, or d7, and then I thought I'm definitely losing the pawn. So basically it would end up on e8. I thought I was going to get squeezed to death there. So I thought my only real move was b6 by process of elimination. It is the best move, so I played it. With the idea, if he takes, I would then take, I would get rid of my weakness. I wanted him to take. I would maintain control of the d4 square. He would trade, I would have the file. And I thought then black would be better, to be honest. And I thought if he pushed b5 now, I would just make a quiet move, go to bishop b7, and I'm still maintaining the bishop. If he ever jumps in, I still have the idea of trading the bishop for it anyway if I want to. But now if I ever soften up these pawns, again, that bishop can really wreak havoc. So I thought I did think this kind of solved everything. And the truth is, both white and black, we kind of leave this side of the board in tension like this for a long, long time. And I think we were correct to. Yeah, I play b6. All right, and this position he finally jumps in, knight to d5, which I don't think was. It's a good move, but it's the first. It's finally not the best time to do it. I was always aware he was holding off for a long time, and now he does. And I really thought to myself, now first off, obviously I can't go knight takes because then he just takes and boom, he's threatening both, and I just lose a piece. So knight takes is out of the question. I looked at bishop takes, and I thought if I go bishop takes and he goes pawn takes, I then have to move my rook. He'd have a massive pawn chain, and I would basically be at his mercy. I hated the look of that. Either pawn that he takes with, black looks like they're just suffering. The fact that it takes with tempo, that I just move my rook back. I'll have to give up the plan of ever rook lifting. Yeah, I really didn't like that. So I thought taking was wrong. So then I looked at the other moves, and I said, well, I have this clever move still of of knight e8. It stops all these forking ideas because I saw that obviously if I move my queen, maybe not now, but he'd basically have these potential forks, and having a knight there stops that. I'm obviously protecting the f6 where he would have these like checks, like it's defending that. And my knight would be defending the d6 pawn, so I'm free to move my queen. I thought it just did everything. Like, I thought it was kind of a hero move. Computer doesn't like it. They just want me to move my rook back, kind of admit that my rook lift idea is not a great one. Apparently, I can also just play h6 here. I genuinely considered h6 here, for the record, but I thought that it was too slow with like h4 ideas as far as shoving. And obviously it takes. I'm okay, because then my queen's kind of out of dodge. But that doesn't happen. I played knight e8. Can you guys another inaccuracy? Huh. I don't know. I thought my move did a lot. Alright, well, anyway. He now plays knight g3, which is a good move. I was actually bummed because it kind of stops my idea. Again, when I played it back, I'm really considering g5, kind of wildly shoving at him. But he plays knight g3, and as soon as he does this, I realize I cannot play g5. I cannot give up these squares. If that knight gets to f5 and I have no way of dislodging it, I thought I was in terrible shape. Terrible. Computer likes c takes b4 here. I basically go takes. Okay. It's basically on par with g6. And I do play basically the best move here. I thought that I'd have to go g6, take away these knight jumps, give up the idea of attacking him, plot my bishop where I kind of wanted it all game on g7, try to anchor and use this d4 square, which is huge, make it a wooden shield, and go from there. So I play g6. Computer does like my move. To his credit, he plays bishop to d2. He's giving up this attack on the d6 pawn, which I guess is nice. But now he's taking away, what I want, which is I want to swing my bishop and make it a monster. And he wants to just trade the dark square for the dark square. And I don't really know if I can do much about it. I play the best move because I looked at all my other options. I actually did consider a6, yeah, I just very quickly played bishop g7. It does look like the computer likes my move, which is nice. And he plays the best response. He plays bishop to c3. Yeah, I was at this moment. I think I'd mentioned that I played all these moves very quickly. I think I've basically used a minute a move to this point. Like he's down to like 40 minutes, and I have more than an hour at this point. This is the position where I did. Okay, it wasn't 20 minutes because I didn't go down from like an hour 10 to 50, but it was probably more than 15 minutes in this position because I knew this was the critical moment where at no point have I been better or really had much. But I did know that this was on the cusp of making a lot of trades and basically taking a lot of material off the board. And I wanted to make sure that if I did that, if I liquidated, that I wouldn't be worse off. So I looked at trading bishop takes, and I didn't like bishop takes, knight takes. So I thought, all right, I got to take the knight first. But I had to make sure that if I take the knight, he doesn't have these pawn moves that then temporarily attack my rook. And I also looked at the intermitsu, where if I go bishop takes knight, he then plays bishop takes bishop. But then I saw I'd have bishop takes c4, attacking the queen right away, so you'd have to take, basically a desperado as it's known. And then I would take, and I'd be up a pawn there, and I actually think black would be better. So then I looked at both c takes and e takes. I wasn't sure which was better. I think he played the not as good one. He ended up playing e takes d. I thought c takes d was better. And again, I would be giving him this chain. But I kind of thought in this position, I just didn't see a better way forward. I thought that if he has this pawn slammed here, then the d6 pawn is not nearly as backward as weak, because it's not so easy for him to attack it, especially if he doesn't have this dark square bishop anymore. So, yeah, so the good news is it looks like I played the best line, mostly. I spent 15 plus minutes just thinking about any other move, and I briefly considered h5. I thought consolidating was the right thing to do. So I did. Vito likes my idea. I went bishop takes on d5. It's kind of boring. I'm liquidating a little bit. Again, he goes e takes, which is not as good. All right, I am right. I did think c takes was better, just building this big pawn chain. And I didn't think I'd have a comfortable position there, for the record. I did think that this, I would be worse here. Yeah, I saw moving rook to e7. Because I looked at briefly takes first, takes, but then he has this move, check, takes, and then he would take. Hopefully you guys followed that, but he would want a pawn in that setup to just try to dislodge his pawn chain, which would not be worth it. Anyway, so I did see all that, which is nice, and I do think he made a slight inaccuracy, a big inaccuracy. He went from being essentially up +1 to even. Actually, the computer even argues that black is slightly better here. And again, the reason I spent so long in that position is I thought this was all forcing. These are all forced moves. I didn't blitz all of these after we got these on the board, but I played them pretty quickly because they're all pretty, again, automatic. So, sometimes I don't play the most exciting games. I don't think this was one of the most exciting games, that I've ever played. Anyway, I played rook takes e1 check. He plays rook takes e1. Yeah, now we're in a position where, I considered knight to f6. They still like c takes. I didn't like c takes, bishop takes. I thought that, again, he's just attacking my pawn, and I'm just forever defending it. So I thought that I needed to generate counterplay here. I thought I needed to have some kind of activity. I played queen d7. My idea, it's not a bad move, but my idea, well, they think it's a bad idea, a bad move. My idea was that I wanted to try to get my queen involved in the game somehow. I thought that if I traded bishops here and he takes, I was a little bit worried about him getting his knight into the game. I wanted him to trade so I could take with my knight. With the idea eventually of basically, the way I saw it in this position a few moves back, is I thought that we'd have an endgame where I would, with the bishops being off the board, where I would be able to slam my knight on d4. And I thought with an outpost there, that black would be fine. I'd be defending everything. In game, it didn't turn out that I could develop, I could position my knight there. So, that all went to shit. But that was kind of what I calculated at this point. Anyway, I played queen d7. They much prefer here, obviously, taking, relieving the tension with c takes on d4. Otherwise, just bishop takes, and, it would be equal. So I guess this is a slight mistake. Yeah, all right. You live and learn. I also thought I needed to get this rook into the game. It's my one piece that has not been moved. And I thought by moving up, I could then maybe move my rook over. So, that was kind of, that was my thought process. He now plays knight e4, which is a very sensible move, very natural, some would say. This knight is forever attacking the d6 pawn. Moreover, it's threatening some forks. I saw all these. He was going for little cheapos. If he takes, and if for whatever reason I took with the knight, not that I would, he would then fork and win the game by winning my queen. So I was not going to fall for that, that's for sure. Yeah, and so I figure I do another lengthy think in this position. In fact, we almost get back to equal time. I think it's been another 15 minutes, because I just thought that this was such a crucial position, where I saw all of these forks, and by the way, I considered f5, and I wondered if that was too weakening for the endgame with the queen still on the board, if I was opening my king up. Computer likes me to just move back to d8, which, crazy. Crazy. I didn't think that I should be the one to trade, because for some reason I thought that if he takes back with the queen, that I would have some weaknesses, and I would never be able to move my own knight back to f6. Yeah, they still like this idea. It's still up there of c takes. Instead, I played queen a4, and I thought that this was forcing him to make the trade. Yeah, it is. I'm attacking the pawn, and I thought that would be good for me. I thought, anyway. Anyway, that's my thought process. I go queen a4, he goes bishop takes on g7. I go king takes on g7, which is obviously better. And I can't go knight takes now, because obviously then I would lose this pawn. So I go king takes, of course. And the whole time I'm wondering, are these checks good? And I thought if he checked, I'd have to move back, because I don't want him infiltrating like that. And he never has this check, because my knight's defending. He doesn't have a sacrifice of getting my rook here because the knight's in the way. And yeah, I mean, we both thought, I mean, according to the computer, it's +1. Like, white is comfortable, and they are. But we both thought, like, this is pretty damn equal. I will admit, I offered him a draw soon. Not here, but I will point it out, because we got it in a completely symmetrical position, and it felt like zeros to me. And the whole time, I thought that I was, like, hanging around, but I never really felt like I had a spark, like I had really much, offensive punching, if you will. Anyway, after king takes, he plays b takes c5. He thought for a while here on this move. I thought that was the obvious move. I was looking at all the checks. I didn't think the checks did anything. I thought it was better for him to wait on the checks, maybe even stronger later. I thought b takes was the obvious move, because I thought if I go d takes, it gives him this passed pawn. I thought I basically would be lost on the spot. So I went b takes c5. I thought that was, honestly, I thought that was kind of an obvious move. And he grabs the file. He plays rook to b1. And in this position, I was like, yeah, I was considered a rook. Yeah, fuck me. I was gonna play queen to d7, prevent him from coming in with his rook, but I played what I thought was a very clever move. I played queen a5, and it's clever, but it's not clever good. It's clever bad. What I'm doing here is, if he ever makes the mistake of bringing his rook in, then lo and behold, check. I guess he can always retreat with his queen, but then, like, all of a sudden I'm very active. Maybe I find a perpetual. I don't know. I don't know. I thought I was basically finally wiggling my queen in. Yeah, my initial move was just to move back with queen d7. Okay, well, as it turns out, not the most accurate move. I did think it was clever. Yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes clever moves are not the best moves. He now plays queen c3 check. I also was taking away the check with that move, and we end up just consolidating, just trading. Really not much to do there. And then when we reached the position, this is where I offered him the draw. Now it's +1.8. He was absolutely right not to take it. I saw this position, and I thought to myself, oh, and by the way, he was down to 20 minutes at this point, so I did have a decent time advantage, but nothing, like, insane. And because I used 2 lengthy thinks, I probably was on, like, 40 minutes, he was on 20 minutes, something like that. I mean, 20 minutes is still a lot of time to beat somebody. I looked at this position, and I thought that I'm worse, but look at the symmetry. We have the same pawns here, same pawns here, same pawns here. We each have a rook, we each have a knight. Knight-rook endgames like this tend to be very, very drawn. His advantage is the fact that he owns the file, and he's going to have, the 7th. I mean, okay, obviously I knew white was better, but I also thought that, like, maybe he would just take a draw. And he actually did think about it for, like, a minute. And he's like, sorry, I'm going to have to play on. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's totally fine. And I was trying to, like do my salesmanship, like, it's a draw. Look at the symmetry on the board. But I knew in this position that clearly white is better. You know what I mean? Like, I was hoping he would take a draw because I knew that I was worse. I'm actually surprised it's this bad because, again, of the symmetry and the material equalness. But I guess because he has the initiative and, like, I am so tied down. This rook has not moved the entire game. Anyway, when he passes on the draw, again, can't say I blame him. I decided I needed some active plan of my own. I play knight f6. My idea was if he was going to be jumping in here, I could just trade, and then I would just move my king in. That was basically what I was thinking. I actually think I should have moved my king here. Just try to get it in at this point, I think. I don't know, maybe not. The computer likes a6 here. I mean, the computer's struggling to find, like, a good move. f5, yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. I didn't think I had a lot of good moves here. As soon as I moved my knight, I realized the problems in my position. Because he now crashes down with rook b7, which is a pretty obvious move. He told me, he's like, yeah, I realized, like, I just thought if I slam my rook on the 7th, like, good things will happen. I agreed with Nathan. I thought that he would diagnose the situation accurately. And I was a little bit worried. I thought, do I sack the pawn, take the file? No, because he just moves f2 and I actually can't infiltrate. I thought, oh boy, he's got this move. Okay, can I stop it? I play a6. I think it stops it. And then as soon as I do this, because now I'm playing pretty quickly, again, in the endgame I was launching pretty fast, partially playing against the clock, but not really. He then just goes rook b6. And this is where I said, fuck me. I have scooted and shrewded this game. And even though we're materially even, I'm definitely losing a pawn, and maybe it's a very important pawn. So I first take the file, because I'm basically sacrificing this pawn. Obviously, f2 is the best move. If he doesn't play it, I think I'm better, basically. But he obviously plays king f2. He's going to move it in. I have cut his king off. And I decide that I need to find some active plan, and I do find the best move. I see kind of a trickiness with routing my knight to d7, and then being able to play to e5, attacking everything. And if he's taking my pawns, I would be able to either get in, or perhaps win back these pawns and be able to stack up. And I thought that I was drawing there. So, luckily, I guess, I found the best computer moves. It looks like I'm considerably worse here, but he also makes a slight mistake. I told him after the game I thought that he should have taken d6. I still would have done the same thing. Yeah, knight e5. But he actually takes the a-pawn. He told me after the game he thought that he needed to take this, because this is the outside passer. But I said that the d5 was already much closer to queening, and that's probably what he should have threatened. All my calculation, because I wasn't quite 100% blitzing, was him pushing this. So I was actually a little surprised he took the a-pawn. I played knight e5. It's kind of what I drummed up. And although black is worse, +1 doesn't mean I'm losing. It's just I'm worse. And again, I was like, well, I certainly am not winning this game. You know what I mean? I thought he should take the pawn with the rook. And then I would take here, and we would kind of go from there. If he doesn't defend the a-pawn, I was going to try to win it. Maybe I was going to try to race my own pawn up the board. But he actually mildly surprises me. And this ends up being a bad move. I thought it was a bad move. I'm really surprised he didn't take the pawn. He plays knight b5. And once he plays knight b5, I, for once, didn't blitz. I sat down, and this I'm going to shout out Ryan. Ryan, I actually spent, I had 40 minutes. I actually spent 10 minutes in this position. I looked at this. I knew I was never going to win this game, at least the way this was going. But I said to myself, all right, let's fucking calculate this endgame. So I said, all right, I would take, he would take. I would take, he would take. I can beat him to the spot with rook a8. How does he defend it? He doesn't. He moves his rook here. I take. He takes. I get behind the pawn. I don't know what he does with his rook. Even if he goes out wide, I can then move my king in. Boom, we consolidate. It's a draw. And I actually spent time on each of those steps trying to find resources for my opponent. And when this position was reached, I calculated a draw. I said, yeah, I think this is good. And I went for it. And it looks like I'm right. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with my calculation here. He kind of messed up a little bit, and that's all I needed. I played knight takes c4. Computer gives it a great move. I feel pretty proud of that, especially because I was worse in this endgame. Knight takes c4. He now plays knight to takes on d6, which is not the best move. He should actually play a4, which is funny because I actually was considering that. And I wondered if he did play a4, what I was supposed to do. Computer likes h5, just kind of taking space over here. I think I probably would have immediately attacked the d-pawn, I think. But he doesn't push. He just takes. And again, I know I'm always taking, obviously. There's no other move for me in that spot. Once I take, his move is forced. I know he has to take. And once he takes, I thought there's only one move for me as well. I beat him to spot with the rook a8. And again, although he's going to be up a pawn, we both said after the game, we both were pretty sure that this is just a dead draw. And lo and behold, it is just in fact a dead draw. So I'm glad I went into this. I kind of calculated correctly. He plays rook c6. Yeah, these are all the best computer lines. I then take, of course. I play rook takes on a3. He then plays rook takes on c5, of course. And in this position, he kind of chuckled, and I chuckled. He's down to 12 minutes. I'm down to a little below 30. And I said, look, if you want to play it out, by all means, I think this is a draw. And he said, yeah, I think this is a draw, but I'm going to play a few more moves. I said, great, let's do it. I said, I can't win this game. Of course you should play on. And, it's kind of funny, in online, you can't have that kind of conversation or dialogue with an opponent. But over the board, you can. You don't want to get, shushed. You don't want to, have a long heart-to-heart. But we exchanged, a few sentences. And, I wasn't going to beg, please, just take the draw. This is a draw, and I calculated, I was pretty sure. But I wasn't 100%. I'm not a computer. But I would say my pulse, if you will, or my nervousness, I was not nervous at all. You know what I mean? I was not like I actually was not sweating at all. I think I took my sweater off because it was very hot in the chess hall. It was very crowded, but it wasn't because I was like worried about this one not being a draw. I was pretty sure this was a draw. Anyway, once I took a3, he played rook takes c5. I calculate the best, one of the best moves. There's a bunch of moves that all work. I play king f6. My idea is I'm just going to round up the pawn. When these rooks leave the board, completely symmetry. There's no way, either person could win. Yeah, I mean, pretty much playing out the string. He then plays rook c7. Move makes sense. I can't bail on this pawn, or I would lose my pawns. And then I actually would be losing, so I can't do that. So I don't do that. Excuse me. He played rook c6 first. God damn it. Well, the computer, they haven't changed the... I don't know why they haven't changed it. I wonder if something is broken or whatever, but he actually, in this position, he checks me first, and I play king e5. With the, I thought that we were basically going to just repeat. Like, if you guys can tell, I thought that he was going to go here, I was going to go here, he was going to go here, I was going to go here, we were just going to get a draw. That's not what happened. Instead, when I played king e5, now he plays rook c7. So it's the same position. Actually, it's not the same position. More or less the same position here. I'll just play it out from here. I play rook a2 check. My thinking is that if he ever leaves this pawn, I actually thought I'd be winning. And it's funny, he thought that too. He thought if he leaves this pawn that, the computer still says it's a draw, but I thought that there's a chance that he'd actually make a mistake here, and I got slightly I got the idea that maybe he would mess up, and he would actually try to think that this pawn means he's winning, and he would just go for it. And I'm pretty sure he would lose in that case, and I had a big time advantage. But he doesn't. He just plays king g3, and once he does that, now I play king f6. So now this is the position that gets reached anyway. Basically he played d6. For the record, let's just say I do this. No, I did not do that. God damn it. I'm gonna have to re-enter the game. Anyway, what ends up happening is basically from I played d6. He plays d6 after I, from this position he plays here. Pretend this is the. I played king f6 here. Pretend this is the position. I'm going to re-enter this anyway. He plays d6 here. I get behind with rook d2. He plays d7. And I play the move king e6. I think that's the key move. And now we're trading, and he went h4, I went h5, and he offered me the draw here. And I took it. 43 moves later. I'm going to fix this up. 43 moves later. Yeah, what can I say? I think that, I don't know how to, I'm really curious how, why all of a sudden you can't delete moves. Something that happened with the chess.com code. When I very quickly looked at it, the T sort of entered it in my phone. The phone said we both basically played a 90% accuracy. The phone basically said that we both played quite well. I never thought that I was better, really. I thought that I had a few chances if you made a mistake. But I thought I played pretty solidly, and I kind of salvaged the end game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to just very quickly go through the moves. How long has this recap been? 49 minutes. Not bad. Just so that, the end game goes accurately. Game details. Let me re-enter this. Nathan Jones. The, God damn it. Come on, computer. Yeah, looking at the accuracy, at least according to my phone, I have played games in Classical better than this one, the 90%. But this is definitely one of my better ones. My opponent just played like really well, I think, or at least very solidly. He didn't take advantage of. He had a few chances, I think 2, where he really could have punished me, and that would have been very bad for business. I was able to calculate kind of when I needed to, so that's good. And I kind of left, week 1 with a draw. Afterward, you're doing the recaps, you're talking to some people, and then people are like, "Oh, how'd your game go? Like, what was your game like?" And it's kind of nice. I like those kind of conversations. And I basically said, it was kind of a boring draw. And if you look at this game, I think the end game was slightly interesting. The mid game position was slightly interesting, but honestly, only slightly. I don't think that this wasn't a very tactical game. This wasn't a very creative game. I had a few ideas, like with the rook lift, that were interesting, but overall, this was just like a solid game, but nothing, nothing all that special. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes you're gonna get games like this, and I'm not gonna beat myself up because I think, first off, drawing is not bad. He's unrated right now, so I think I'm gonna lose like a point or something. But I was black, number 1. Number 2, I think, I said as long as I maintain an over 85% accuracy, I'm gonna be pretty happy with my effort. I think I found some of the key moves when I needed to. Now, I didn't capitalize on everything. Some of my moves, some of my ideas are not great. I thought they were clever, but it's because I always think my moves are clever, unless I think my moves are bad. Even here, just kind of rolling on through. I thought that these were reasonable ideas that I had. My play was at least logical. Here I'm going for the bishop pair. After the game, when I went for the bishop pair, he said he didn't think the bishop pair was worth anything in this closed position. I think he's slightly right. I still like it, but yeah, I don't think it does much, that's for sure. Played f3, which was a slight weakening move. I played rook e6. I thought this was a clever idea. Just trying to generate some sort of aggression. Because I don't want to be sitting back on my hands defending all game, you gotta go for a little bit of... Oh no. Oh no. Well, that was not the right move. My computer dragged out, and I'm gonna have to do it again. Alright, well, I certainly don't think anyone needs to stay for this part of the video. There's no more analysis. There's no more anything really to speak of. I'm literally just re-entering the moves so that on my spreadsheet and everything, it's accurate. I am very curious. My accuracy, again, according to, this is the exchange variation, because I exchange here from the Philidor. I like some kind of center clarity. Again, on the T, they gave me 89.6% or something. Now, the phone computer is not as strong as the computer, but but that's that's kind of what they and it said he played 1% less accurate. So I think that's because he had a couple of chances to. Did I already mess up these moves? Move 5, bishop e7, d4, d6, e4, e5, knight f3, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, bishop d3. Oh, goddamn. Alright, I guess what this means is I'm probably just tired. And I think if people are watching this still and seeing me just literally re-enter moves incorrectly, more freaking power to you. I wouldn't watch somebody do this. I would just fast forward to the end. So I'll tell you this: if you guys are bored by this, and I don't really have anything else to really say, you should just fast forward to the end. If you're curious, my overall accuracy, I told you what I think it is based on what it was, in the based on what it was on the T. But yeah. But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there pretty fast. C4, C5. I'm just banging these out. E d2. Knight e d2, knight c6. Maybe if I call them out while I'm doing this, this will go better. Knight c3, rook e8, bishop f4, bishop f8, rook e1, knight b4, rook b1, bishop d7, a3, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, Bishop c6, f3, rook e6, b4, b6, knight d5, knight e8, knight g3, g6, bishop d2, bishop g7, bishop d3. Wow, so exciting. Bishop takes on d5? Yes, bishop takes on d5. E takes on d5. I do think this was a mistake by my opponent. Rook takes on e1. Rook takes on e1. Queen d7. They don't love this move. Knight e4. They do like that move. Queen a4. Bishop takes on g7. Black is worse. King takes. I thought I was holding everything. B takes on c5. Figured it was just a matter of time. B takes c5. I need to take towards the center. Rook b1 grabs the open file. Queen a5. I thought this was clever, but it's not a good move. Queen c3 check. We trade everything after a queen takes, knight takes. Then I play knight f6. This was definitely a mistake. I should have taken a little more time on this. Luckily, I was able to salvage it anyway. Rook b7. He lands it in a prime spot. He is definitely nearly winning. He should have probably won from this position at least. Up to this point, I played pretty well, but I guess that was just a big mistake. Plays rook b6. I play rook e8, trying to get some counterplay. Plays king f2, moves it on in. Knight d7. I find the idea. Computer does like this. Rook takes on a6. That was a mistake, for sure. Knight e5. I get my pieces in. Knight b5. They don't like it. He kind of throws away his advantage. I do my big calculation. I play takes. He plays takes. I play takes. He plays takes. A lot of takes. I move to the a file with good old rook a5 on 30. Excuse me, rook a8. I move 35. Kind of moving it back. Is rook c6. I take the pawn on a3. He takes my pawn. All right, here we go. Let's not mess up so I can just enter the moves accurately and get a full-blown readout of how I did this game. All right, after rook takes on c5, I play king f6. Try to march it in, thinking that I could just round up this pawn pretty easily. He goes rook c6 check. All right, here we are. I play king e5. It's the best move. A whole lot of moves still draw this. It looks like it wasn't like I had to be that accurate. He plays rook c7. This one I need to play back well, first I check him, which is fine. Rook a2 check. And this is where I thought that if he got aggressive, that maybe he would end up losing the game. Maybe. He plays king g3, which is the best move. I play king f6. I have to move it back. I have to defend this pawn. Now he plays d6. Now I play rook d2. Oh, I checked him to get his king away here so he could never really harass my rook as well. And I had it cut off so he could never kind of get in to defend his pawn. That was like the endgame analysis, if you will. Kind of what I assumed I needed to do. My own thinking. He plays d7. I play king e6. I thought this was more accurate than playing king e7. All right, here we go. Now he plays h4. I play h5. And here is where he offers the draw, and I take it. Of course, because I can never win here. All right. That is great. Now, first off, let me save this for sure. Let me do this first. Let me add on in the details once again. What is his name? Nathan Jones. My name is Robert Eckstut. Yeah, I thought I played. Let's add this to save. What the hell? Why will they not let me save this? Add to game collection. Here we go. All right. This is now going to be a new collection. This is now the November Boylston Chess Club November Swiss. Wow, that's a mouthful, but it's fine. All right. I've done that. 0 games here. Let's save it there. Boom, it's been saved. Let's now analyze it. Let's see, analysis. Wait, why can I not do a game review? Here we go. All right, looks like Chess.com has mixed up some things on us for sure. Chess.com, the computer. Yeah, they're giving me the 89.5. Okay, so it looks like my phone was pretty accurate. Again, I don't know what to say. I played a pretty good game. Like, I'm going to be happy anytime I have a higher than 85% accuracy. My opponent played well. 88.8 is pretty solid. Apparently, according to this, I played slightly better, even though I was kind of losing at, like, 2 different spots. But I kind of found the defenses. It's weird. I thought they did give me some great moves, but now they've taken them away. Looks like, 3 in accuracy, 4 mistakes. So 7 moves I probably, could have done better. But I'm not going to beat myself up over that. It is what it is. So anyway, we get a draw. I don't know if the second round pairing is out yet, but I'm sure it'll change again. Let's see. This has been an hour. This recap probably didn't need to be an hour. Not going to lie. Looks like they're up, and god damn it, I didn't want to have to face this guy. I looked at the people, and this guy, Severin Koenig, is a German player. He has a FIDE rating, but not a USCF, and he's like high 1700s FIDE, which means he's high 1800s USCF. But he has never played an American USCF game, so of course I'm going to have to play him. It is so freaking typical of chess, So anyway, so I'm going to have to play an unrated player who's like really strong. Oh, God. And Nathan gets the 1300. Well, alright. Anyway, it is what it is. Maybe the pairings will be shaken up. Yeah, I'm going to end it here. Overall, I think I played it fine. Again, I've played some games in the 90%, so I think I had 8 games, 90% plus accuracy. This one was close, out of like 40 or so. I played well, but not great. That's kind of how I felt about it. I felt like I calculated what I needed to. I was able to salvage the draw. And yeah, that's about it. All right, have a good night, everyone, and see you next week.